Once upon a time there was a guy who thought he was the ultimate charmer. Let's call him Mr. Let's. Mr. Let's was a man of many words, and most of them started with that all too familiar word, let's. It was his go-to move, his signature phrase, his flirting mantra. So, there he was on a sunny afternoon, sitting across from a beautiful woman at a cozy sidewalk cafe. He was all set to deploy his favorite weapon. With a sly grin, he leaned in and said, "Let's have the most exotic dish on the menu." Quite a bold move, right? But here's where things start to crumble. As the minutes ticked by, the let's kept coming. "Let's order another round of drinks. Let's go dancing tonight. Let's take a trip around the world." Oh boy, he was on a roll. But there was one small problem. The more he said let's, the less she seemed intrigued. You see, his let's felt more like a command than an invitation, more like pressure than a proposal. By the time dessert arrived, our dear Mr. Let's had become Mr. Let's Not for her. She politely excused herself, leaving him with a hefty bill and a valuable lesson. And that, my friends, is how you don't flirt. Now let's dive into how you do it right. Welcome and thank you for tuning into our channel where we teach you only the best and proven strategies and tricks to get the girl of your dreams, or as many as you want. Learn how to become the ultimate man. Now before we get into our video, do me a favor and hit the like button so YouTube will know that this video is awesome. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you can receive the latest content. Share this video with someone that you think will benefit from it. And lastly, save this video so you can give yourself a refresher from time to time. Without further ado, let's dive in. Ever heard of a cold open? No, it's not a new brand of beer. It's a term borrowed from the world of television where a show plunges straight into the action without any preamble or introduction. And guess what? It works wonders in the flirting arena too. Picture this. There's this guy, let's call him Jack. Jack walks into a party, spots a woman he's attracted to, and decides to give the cold open a shot. Without any hesitation, he strolls up to her, a confident grin playing on his lips. "You know," he says, "I was going to tell you a joke about time travel, but you didn't like it." She blinks, momentarily thrown off balance, and then bursts out laughing. Just like that, Jack has her attention. You see, the cold open is all about the element of surprise. It's about cutting through the usual small talk and throwing in something unexpected. It's like jumping into a swimming pool without testing the waters first. It's bold, it's daring, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. You're not just another face in the crowd anymore. You're the guy who made her laugh, the guy who surprised her, the guy who dared to be different, and that, my friends, makes all the difference. So don't be afraid to take the plunge. Be like Jack. And that's how you make an introduction that's refreshing. Ladies and gents, it's time to activate your voice. No, I don't mean singing. Instead, we're talking about the power of active voice in conversation. You see, the way you frame your sentences can make a world of difference. Imagine you're at a party and you spot a woman you'd like to get to know better. You could say, "The drinks were ordered by me," but that's like telling a story in slow motion. It's passive, it's boring. Instead say, "I ordered the drinks." It's direct. It's active. It's engaging. Here's a funny story to illustrate this. Once upon a time, there was a man named Bob. Bob was a bit of a wallflower. He'd often say things like, "The number was given to her by me." Needless to say, the ladies weren't exactly swooning. But one day, Bob decided to switch things up. He started using active voice. So instead of his usual passive self, Bob said, "I gave her my number." And guess what? The change was astounding. Suddenly, he was the life of the party. Women found him more confident, interesting, and appealing. So, what's the takeaway here? Active voice puts you in the driver's seat of the conversation. It shows you're not just a bystander, but an active participant. It's more exciting, more engaging, and let's face it, way more attractive. Remember, a conversation is not a monologue. Keep it active, keep it interesting. English, do you speak it? Because she sure does. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've been brushing up on your high school French, ready to woo her with your worldly knowledge. But let me tell you about a guy named Jerry. Jerry thought he was a regular Casanova. He met a girl who mentioned she loved Italian culture, so Jerry, being the smooth operator he was, decided to impress her with his self-proclaimed fluency in Italian. So, there they are, at a fancy Italian restaurant. Jerry, feeling confident, starts ordering in his best Italian. The waiter, clearly struggling to hold back laughter, nods along. Jerry turns to his date, smirking, expecting awe and adoration. But instead, she's trying not to burst out laughing. Why, you ask? Well, instead of smoothly ordering spaghetti carbonara, Jerry had confidently asked the waiter for a carbonated spaghetti. And let me tell you, carbonated spaghetti is not a delicacy in any part of the world. The point is, if you're not fluent in a language, don't try to impress your date with it. You might think it sounds sexy, but the risk of making a fool of yourself is high. And trust me, no one wants to be the carbonated spaghetti guy, so let's stick to English, shall we? Scene script. Can you follow instructions? Because that's hotter than you think. Picture this, you're at a party. The music is pumping, the atmosphere is electric, and there's this gorgeous woman across the room. You make your way over, but instead of diving into your favorite sports story or your latest business conquest, you ask her about herself, you listen, you pay attention, you follow her cues. She mentions her love for modern art. Instead of glossing over it, you probe further. You ask her about her favorite artist, her favorite artwork, and why she loves them. Suddenly, you're not just another guy trying to impress her, you're someone who's genuinely interested in what she has to say. And you know what? That's attractive. It's not all about bragging about your accomplishments or flexing your muscles. It's about showing genuine interest in her, valuing her opinions, and respecting her interests. It's about following her lead. Here's a funny thing though. One time, a friend of mine, let's call him Joe, took this advice to heart. He was chatting with a woman who was a big fan of bird watching. Joe, having no clue about birds, ended up spending the entire evening discussing bird species, bird calls, and bird migration. He even tried to mimic a few bird calls. It was hilarious. But guess what? She loved it. She loved his effort, his interest, and his willingness to step out of his comfort zone. Remember, it's not about you, it's about her. Follow her lead. You've got 2 minutes, make them count. Now let's talk about timing. It's an art, a science, a dance if you will. Timing is the unsung hero of successful flirting. It's not about how much time you spend with her, it's about how you spend that time. Picture this, a man, let's call him Frank, walks into a cafe. He spots a woman sitting alone, engrossed in her book. Instead of bombarding her with endless mind-numbing chatter, Joe opts for a different approach. He keeps it short and sweet. How does he do it? He compliments her taste in literature, asks her opinion on the book she's reading, he listens, responds, and then, just when the conversation is at its peak, he excuses himself. He leaves her with a smile, a wink, and the promise of a more in-depth conversation next time. Now, that's the power of timing. Frank didn't overstay his welcome, he left her wanting more. He sparked curiosity, intrigue, and anticipation. The woman, left with a lingering sense of wonder, is more likely to remember Frank. His brief but meaningful interaction leaves a lasting impression. So see the value in every moment. Keep your interactions brief but impactful. Use your time wisely and leave them wanting more. It's a delicate dance, but once you master it, you'll be the life of any party. Remember, quality over quantity. Make every second count. Now let's put it all together and become the ultimate man. Picture this, we've got a guy named Jack. Jack isn't your typical Hollywood heartthrob, but he's got a charm that's hard to resist. Why? Because he's the embodiment of all the tactics we've discussed. Remember the epic flirting fail from scene 1? Jack knows better. He's learned that the key to flirting isn't about trying too hard or using cheesy pickup lines. Instead, he's mastered the art of subtlety. In scene 2, we talked about the cold, open charm. Jack adopts this by being genuinely interested in the woman he's talking to. He asks about her day, her interests, and listens attentively. Scene 3 brought us the power of an active voice. Jack doesn't just sit back and let things happen, he takes action, initiates conversations, and makes his intentions clear. In scene 4, we navigated the tricky terrain of translation. Jack knows that communication isn't just about words, it's also about body language, tone, and timing. Speaking of timing, remember scene 6? Timing is everything, and Jack has it down to a science. He knows when to push forward and when to pull back, creating an irresistible push-pull dynamic. And of course, scene 5, Jack follows the brief, not the script. He's not afraid to improvise and adapt to the situation. And that, my friends, is how you become the ultimate man. Now go out there and charm the world. Well, there you go, gentlemen. Hope you found value in this video. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and save this video. If you have a strategy that you think that we should know about, go ahead and leave it in the comments so our community can learn, grow, and take advantage of the information. See you in our next video.